For joining, I appreciate it. Can you guys hear me in the back there? Okay? All right, great. So I did a little bit of yammering and tweeting to get people to the session, so it looks like it somewhat worked here. So appreciate you guys coming. We're going to show some really cool stuff today, and I know you guys have probably heard a little bit about digital business over the past several months, but you're really going to see how you can connect universal communications to the digital business conversation. And really, that's our key takeaway today. So when you walk out of this room today, you'll be able to have a digital conversation with your customer and be able to really translate what our core values for digital business really mean, empowered by universal communications. And if you don't, then we've done a terrible job today presenting this topic. So as a review, and I'm sure you guys have heard of digital business, how many of you guys have not heard about our digital business story? Nobody? So this is a review for everyone in the room? Great. All right, so there's three key categories in enabling a digital business. And really, it's, at the heart of a digital business, and that's a vague term, and when I say digital business to some people, especially my wife, they just draw a blank on their face. What does that mean? Do I have a watch? Do I have a keyboard? I'm digital already, right? Well, being a digital business, it really means harnessing technology and integrating technology within business processes to create new experiences. And that goes across three different chasms, right? So we have the actual digital workplace. So the organization itself being a digital process-enabled workplace. So leveraging technologies that can really focus on enabling virtual communications, enabling telepresence and services that really connect multiple offices and locations without barriers, without walls, despite geography. We look at how digital businesses communicate, with their digital customers, and that's changed dramatically over the past decade, and it changes every day. Buying patterns are changing every day. And then lastly, digital transformation. How can an organization look at a multitude of processes and capabilities that make them unique in their industry and be able to harness digital technology to be able to become a truly digital business? So we're going to show you how that basically happens with universal communications, or how it can be enabled. So just as a review, to become a digital workplace, we take this for granted at Avanade because we are a digital workplace. You have to harness those digital processes that are inside your organization. And typically, organizations that are not digital businesses really use analog processes that have a lot of human latency. So the goal to become and transition into a digital business is to reduce that human latency and enable better collaboration, better teamwork, better communication throughout the organization, and enable those processes to happen in real time, with or without human integration. So what we've seen in terms of benefits of becoming a digital workplace include higher customer satisfaction or employee satisfaction inside that organization, better collaboration, and better productivity. And again, I've said this before, but we at Avanade really take this for granted. Fernando DeFaro, who's with me, is going to be presenting with me today. We've been working together for the past 3 years. Fernando works in Argentina and manages our delivery center in Argentina. And this is the first time I've seen him in person, ever. So it speaks truly to our ability to communicate and collaborate, efficiently without the barriers of location or geography. We also have technology that allows us to enable translation services so that individuals in different geographies can speak in their native language and I can speak in my native language, and I don't have to really subdue my productivity because I'm trying to communicate in a certain way that I'm not used to. Flipping to really digital customer conversations, enabling a digital business once they enable digital workplace capabilities to really reach beyond their organization and reach out to their customer base. We've seen massive changes over the past decade, specifically over the past several years. Some of the trends that we're seeing in the digital customer conversation are really around different buying patterns. So, customers, like myself, instead of just going directly to a source and buying a product, we're looking at third-party reviews and comments before we actually make a decision. I just had this experience myself. I did a speech 2 weeks ago in Oklahoma City. I've only been to Oklahoma twice, and I didn't really know where to stay. I have some family out there, so I was trying to find a hotel that's really between the office location that was downtown and then northwest Oklahoma. So I went online, looked at some of our approved hotel locations, and I saw a great Hyatt place online. And had great pictures, looked perfect because, you just want to stay in a modern place. We work in a modern company, right? So I was about to click and book, and then I noticed the comments down below were really poor. And it was a new organization or new location, but they had a problem with ants and they had a problem with water leaking. So I didn't decide to book there, and I booked at another hotel location, right? So that's a good example of buyers being able to choose the products they want to purchase based on reviews, not based on just the surface, right? So it's a big change in the pattern of buying that we all experience that today. One challenge that digital businesses have in reaching out to their digital customers and maintaining those digital customers is continuing to offer services that are relevant at that time and that build an intimate relationship, a trusted relationship with that customer. We all see it today, especially with our kids, right? So they're all on mobile devices, downloading games and apps that they use every day, right? As soon as that app starts to falter or stops to work efficiently, or it doesn't have the features that the other app has that competes with that application, they quickly just stop using the application. But what's different between the generation me and our generation is that not only do they stop using the application, but they make sure that the entire world knows how bad that application was, right? So they go out and they tweet about it, and they go on Facebook and say, hey, I had a terrible experience with this specific service. And that kind of talks back to our digital business conversation or digital workplace conversation in terms of being able to offer services that provide uniqueness inside that organization that continue to improve and provide additional capabilities. Further to that note, we're seeing the switching of individual consumers with their provider happen on a more drastic scale. And what I mean by that is when there are individuals, let's take the mobile phone, for example. I've got an iPhone that's running on AT&T. But as soon as Windows 10 is capable on the Windows device, on the phone device, I might switch over again, right? So as soon as it's publicly available and people have a positive experience, I might switch over. And let's say T-Mobile is going to carry that Windows 10 phone device, right? So I might decide to switch off my iPhone through AT&T and switch over to a Windows 10 phone running on T-Mobile or Verizon. So just the switch from my service provider to that next service provider leaves a lot of money on the table, right? So it leaves a lot of money on the table, even for me as a customer, because now I have to sign up for new user registration fees. I've lost some discounts because I've been a AT&T customer. And now that I'm switching over to Verizon, for instance, I'm going to have to sign up for new user fees. And then those organizations, those providers, AT&T and Verizon or T-Mobile, are also losing out as well, especially for the individual that switched from that vendor. So there's several $1 trillion that are left on the table with respect to switching providers alone. So these are new challenges that providers are having to reach out more intimately to their customers and maintain their trust, right? So that's basically the conversation around digital customer. So what we're going to do, now that you understand the digital conversation, what digital workplace means, what digital customer means, and how we feel a digital business should operate, we're going to show you some tangible offerings to really enable a digital business and be able to take to your customer. So at the heart of what we do, Fernando and I and our team do with the Universal Communications Apps team, is we really connect people, processes, and devices across platforms, really at a global scale. And I feel it's the heart of a digital business. And what I mean by that is we're looking at organizations and how they compete in their specific industries. And we're highlighting what makes them unique by enabling communication and collaboration services in their individual processes. And I'll explain that a little bit further. So if you look at the conversation we just had around digital customer, how do I actually provide a more intimate and a more trusted relationship with my end customer? There's a whole slew of different things that you can do. You can offer new services on your website. You can offer new discounts to bring customers in. That's pretty much the traditional approach. I had a conversation in the UK in November of last year, and someone told me over there that the bottom quadrant of retail electricity providers in the UK are actually fined if they're in the bottom quadrant for providing customer satisfaction, if they provide low customer satisfaction. And they're actually fined millions of pounds per year. So these organizations are struggling to keep those customers and be able to offer a more intimate and trusted relationship with those customers. I've had conversations with contact center organizations or departments inside large companies, and they're struggling right now because no one wants to use the phone anymore to call in for support. They have to offer web chat. They have to offer integration with social media to be able to allow that individual customer to be able to communicate on their terms. So we're developing and designing applications that are powered by the Skype for Business platform that can enable that intimate, more passionate conversation and relationship between the customer and the business. So we have an app called Digital Lobby that basically enables the capability for audio and video conversations. It enables guest users to sign in without an actual Active Directory enabled account and have real conversations using HD audio and video or instant messaging via web chat with embedded translation. So it's a very easy tool that enables a digital business to reach out to their digital customer and really have that intimate conversation. And then we're taking that further with mobile companion apps, and we're enabling universal communication services within specific line of business solutions like CRM-enabled communication services as well to further that conversation also. So I'm going to show you a quick demonstration of Digital Lobby. We've got a couple live demonstrations that we're going to show you here in a second, but I wanted to go ahead and show you what we're doing through Digital Lobby very quickly. So as you can see here, a customer of an organization can sign in using their credentials with that organization, or leveraging this platform, they can sign in using a guest account. So what first happens is they enter a lobby, and then we have a series of agents that are going to be responding to requests for users that are in the lobby. And then we have automatic embedded translation features inside of our instant messaging or web chat service that reach out to that customer in their native language and start a conversation. And so once an agent actually attends the conversation or attends that chat, they have the option of just staying in web chat, or they can escalate automatically to audio and video. And then during the conversation, they can share their desktop, they can share a specific website and mask certain credit card data, et cetera, and be able to show and collaborate directly with that end user. And again, this is all happening in the browser, so there's no client to install. It can run on any device. It's a very straightforward solution. And this is all empowered by the Skype for Business platform. So being able to offer this to an organization that has invested in that platform, either on-premise or online, they're able to extend that capability to use the service like this to reach out and have a more trusted relationship with their digital customer. And so basically, at the end of the day, what we're doing here is we're enabling users to communicate on their terms in a device of their choice and be able to have a more intimate conversation with the end user. So just an example of what we're doing with Digital Lobby. Taking that further, if we look at the digital workplace conversation, we're developing solutions, like I said before, that really look at organizations and what they do well. What is unique about that specific organization that allows them to compete in their specific marketplace. And we highlight that. We enable communication services within those processes. We reduce human latency, and we enable a better digital process for that business. And so we're doing this today with telepresence services. I have a new app that we're unveiling in this presentation as well that'll give you a new concept around telepresence. And we have apps like Remote Advisory, which we're actually going to show you a real-time live demonstration of, that have really transformed organizations to be able to highlight their unique business processes. So I'm going to switch over here, and we're actually going to do a live demo of Remote Advisory and show you how this works. First of all, I just want to kind of paint a picture for everybody. Every time we develop a universal communication app, we don't develop it for the sake of technology. It's all tied to a specific business process. So Remote Advisory is a solution that is going to bring in remote engineers with remote experts all in the same conversation, powered by the Skype for Business platform. And so there's many characters that are part of this specific process, specifically in an industry like oil and gas exploration and production. So if you look at how organizations go and drill for specific oil, or they pull out gas through shale, cracking technology to be able to pull up all the resources that are possible in that specific property. There's a huge process that is undertaken in that specific individual process. And so there's many characters that play the role of individual experts or production engineers or field managers that really make this possible. And so today, Fernando and I and our remote experts and engineers out in Argentina with our development team are going to really play the roles of these individuals to produce basically oil and gas in an exploration and production setting. And so first, it's really good to understand, the specific user that would benefit from this. So in this case, we have a field manager that's responsible for all of the operations at a drilling site location. So they're specifically working from the beginning process of the land survey process, where they look at the land, purchase the land, all the way to where they bring in oil and gas field services to put equipment on the ground. They enable seismology teams to come in and survey the land as well. And then when they're ready, they collaborate with remote experts, and those could be geologists, petrochemists, et cetera, as well as their investors in some cases, to look at what's going on in that invested property. So I'm going to play the role of the field manager, and Fernando is going to play the role of the geologist, and we're going to have some remote engineers that are going to come in and make this all possible. So I'm going to get out a PowerPoint here. I'm sure you guys are all happy with that. And I'll extend. Actually, I'm just going to duplicate my screen here. You guys can see that? Okay, great. All right. So I'm going to log in here as the field manager. And so again, I'm actually logging in using my company credentials. So Active Directory, whatever credentials you have there. So Remote Advisory has a tutorial that walks a user through how to use the app, because the app is kind of set up as a canvas. It depends on the type of user that you are and how you're going to use the application. So a field manager and a production operator and an engineer are all going to use the app in a different manner. So I'm the field manager. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to reach out to my team. So using the Skype for Business developer platform, I can go in and actually search for contacts that are in my Skype contacts directory and start communicating with those individuals. So I'm going to reach out to Fernando here. So I'll search for Fer. And I can see that he's online, so I'll go ahead and click on him. So basically, we received some seismic reports on the property that we're actually surveying right now. And we got some information that was kind of troubling or needed some further investigation. So I'm contacting Fer. He's a geologist, and he's going to communicate back to me and basically give me his ideas or his thoughts. So he says he'd like to involve our engineering team to really get some eyes on the ground there at the site location. So I'm going to save this conversation, and I'm going to go look for Joni, who is our production manager. Let's see if he's online, and he is. So I'm going to ask Joni if he can actually talk and not actually have an instant messaging conversation. And we'll see if Joni's online and he can respond back and carry this conversation a little bit further. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and escalate this to audio and video. So I've sent him an AV request. And basically now what's going to happen is we're going to have an audio-video conversation instead of just an instant messaging conversation, and chat about the individual process. Hopefully you guys can see this okay. You guys see okay? All right. Hey, Joni, how you doing today?
Hi, Joe. How are you doing?
I'm great. So I'm here with Fer, and we're discussing some of the data that we received from the seismic team, and we'd really like one of your engineers to go there on the ground and provide us a view at the site location.
Okay, so I believe that Pedro is on the field right now, so I will ask him to turn his device on, okay?
Okay, great. Thanks. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and end this conversation, and I'll go back. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and cancel our conversation real quick. Before I actually look at the device, I want to show you that we can find devices in a couple different ways. So devices, meaning they could be a Google Glass device, in the future HoloLens devices. It could be a mobile phone, it could be a Surface Pro. Anything that can actually reach a URL can be an actual IoT device that we integrate with this application. And it's all enabled using geolocation services, as well as ORTC services that stream audio and video to a browser. So here I can see multiple individuals that are part of this conversation that are engineers on the ground at a site location, right? So I'm going to look, he said to look for Pedro, because Pedro's there in Argentina. So I'm going to actually drill into Pedro here and see where he's located. And this is literally down to the street level. And Pedro's working from home, so I'm probably not going to give his address away here. But again, there's two ways. I can look at the map, or I can just see the devices that are streaming here. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in Pedro's feed. It looks like we've got some other feeds there too. I'll bring those in here in a second. And so now basically I can see the feed that's happening right there in Argentina at this location. So Pedro's streaming real time right now using his ORTC device that's streaming into the Skype for Business app that's running in Azure on the website. So what I'm going to do now is, now that we're getting a good feel of what's going on the ground, I'm going to reach out to a couple individuals to extend this conversation. So I'm going to use another feature that we have here, which is our tagging feature. Instead of searching for an individual, I can search based on individual expertise or skills. So I can look for the individuals that are in these different field sets. So I know I'm going to talk to Juan. I know I'm going to talk to Fernando again. I'm going to click OK. And what's going to happen now is I'm setting up a multi-party conference, an IM conference, in the application as well. So now we can all chat together. So I started the conversation here. Now I've got Juan on the line here. He's one of our production operators as well. And Juan might want to do something a little different here. So if you notice here in the conversation, we have a capability of collaborating and sharing documents. So we have integration with OneDrive for Business here that allows you to share documentation while you're looking at these live feeds. So we can document what's happening with this project team in real time. So I'll respond to Juan here and see if he can share his document. My typing's great. Okay, so it looks like we're sharing a document here. So I'm clicking on the document, and now I'm able to see and document what we're dealing with the project site location, and actually take screenshots and put it into the document as well. This could be a PowerPoint presentation too. And we can edit the document in real time using OneDrive for Business or Office integration, API integration to share here. And you can see that Fernando and I are actually sharing this document, editing the document at the same time. And thank you for saying this, Rox. All right, so I noticed here, it's pretty interesting that on the map we had several other devices that were streaming. I wonder who's playing around here with the demo. Sorry, I know this isn't part of the demo, but I'm just curious. So we have Joe McMahon in the U.S., and we have, looks like Ryan McCune up in Seattle. I didn't even know Ryan was here. So I'll bring these guys in, see what they're seeing. Could be kind of scary. So as the videos render here, you can see different locations that are streaming video live. Oh, Ryan is here. Ryan, where are you at? All right, so Ryan's got his Google glasses on. He's invading privacy here and sharing your video with the project team. So you can see here in this application, and I showed you something that was specific to oil and gas, energy production, but this can really relate to any type of industry. This could be a remote banking type scenario where you're training bankers and looking at different branch site locations. It could be used for training inside of Avanade even, or inside your organization. What we're doing here is we're enabling users without a client to install to go to a browser-based application. This entire app is running in Azure. So it's very easy to deploy, very easy to host. You can set up subscription-based services or just deploy it for your end customer, depending on what you want to do. But we're bringing in all these experts worldwide, despite their location, integrating IoT devices, and being able to empower secured communications powered by the Skype for Business platform. So it's a really good example of digital workplace, because we're now enabling a digital process here and leveraging this service to make that workplace more efficient and more productive. Okay, so that's that. And I wanted to show you another demo here. So instead of going back into PowerPoint and switching back out, we're unveiling a new application called Virtual Corridor. And before we actually go into the application, I wanted to say a few words, and I want Fernando to talk about it as well, because this is actually his baby. He brought this to me. It made sense to me. I feel like it's a phenomenal digital workplace solution. And basically, if you think about telepresence today, you think about these massive $1 million plus telepresence rooms, right? And they're typically used for executives to communicate. Now, Microsoft has enabled a reduction in that cost and enabled more of it's kind of a barrier between, or it's an in-between solution of ad hoc audio and video that you can do in Skype normally into the large-scale type telepresence conferences. And so the Link Room systems that came out with Link 2013 kind of provided this easier transition into a much more affordable telepresence type service and really an advanced conferencing system. We're taking that even further with Skype for Business because we can enable a new concept called virtual corridors that basically allow us to look at windows into different offices that are global. This is actually a really good solution for Avanade because we have 70 global regional offices that operate across different time zones, but also there are some situations where we actually are all working at the same time. And we want to be able to share experiences across project teams. Now, if you can imagine, we can take basically an entire wall, light it up with video, and be able to see a working room that might be part of your project team that's working in real time with you. Enable that environment with the Skype translator service so that team can speak in their native language. We hear it in our native language and vice versa. That is, an immense improvement on collaboration in real time without requiring millions of dollars of devices and hardware to make that possible. What we're also doing, as you'll see in this app, is enabling the ability to switch between offices very easily. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to Virtual Corridor, but before that, Fur, I want to ask you why you came up with this application and what was the need for it.
Okay. Can you hear me? So first, my English is not shows English, so if you don't understand me, please let me know and I will try to explain myself a bit better. So basically, as Sean mentioned, we work in different locations in Argentina, and we don't meet each other, at least not often. So we want to be able to look at the other office and feel more like a team instead of different people working in different locations. So we were working with the Skype for Business new APIs, and we were trying to work with the anonymous use features of that API. So we come up with a simple idea of creating this virtual corridor, which allows you to see the other locations. And as we are working with different gizmos and different devices and trying to integrate those devices into new communications features, we added the concept of robots. So really the team in Argentina is building this application as we speak, and now we are trying to figure out ways to integrate a robot to that application. So besides looking the room in the other location, you can be able to interact a bit more with the team working with a robot around the location. So we built this API, as Joe is going to show in a minute.
Great. Yeah, and it was a good comment there on the robot. So how many of you guys have heard of avateering or just attending meetings remotely as a robot? One or two? Okay, a little handful there. Last year, I was part of a pursuit team at an energy organization in Europe. And we had a couple guys that were there on the ground that were here from the U.S. that were there local, but I could not make it there in London for the actual the meeting. So they reserved one of these double robotics bots that are outside the room. I think you guys probably saw it walking around the hallway there. That device has an iPad that's running on the device, and you can actually join in via Skype and represent your video on that device. So what we're doing as part of the Virtual Corridor project, now that the cost of that device is dramatically cheaper, it's $2,500 for a robot. That's a pretty affordable price if you're thinking about being a provider for these types of services. But integrating it with Virtual Corridor, so as you'll see here in Virtual Corridor, you can create a meeting location in a room and light that room up with audio and video and in the future Skype translating services. But instead of viewing the actual window of the room, you can decide to go further and be part of that room. So we'll have double robotics bots and other types of robots that will be in those rooms on standby, and you can take over that bot there locally using your Skype account and be able to walk the room and then move in and out of the corridor as we speak here to have a better experience. So we have a project that we sold, UC Apps project that we sold, one of our first project, the first project. It was for Microsoft actually. And basically, they had a global team that was focusing on contact center and support, and it was a very massive project, $250 million project. And so these teams in remote sites, so Manila, out in Dubai, and then they had also a team in Argentina and also a team in the U.S. were all supporting contact center calls that are coming in from the outside. And they wanted a better way to allow those teams to work more efficiently with each other and share experiences. And that was one of the driving factors to developing this app so they can bring those teams together. So enough talk, let's actually go into it. It's a very simple application, as you can see, but basically you can come in, you can create your own room if you want, or you can join a room that already exists. So I'm going to go ahead and create a room here called TechSummit. And basically, I'm going to represent myself as my location instead. And so this is all powered by Skype for Business, just like the other apps. But basically, it's going to start my video automatically, and anyone that wants to join that room can join the room as well and be a part of this conversation. So my video is starting here, and then I think a few others are going to join. I know Fur's going to join. So Fur sees my room that's already set up, and he's joining as well. And then we'll be able to share video between each other here.
Or my belly, at least. I think so.
And actually,
We'll sit close.
one of the guys should be joining here as well. Let me just contact them on Skype. So I can sign in here.
Are you looking for Joe?
Okay, so in a minute here, they should be able to join. So basically, I'm just seeing Fernando right now, but I can actually split this video out and see multiple videos, multiple rooms together, and basically switch between those rooms as soon as someone else joins here. But basically, the goal is here, we could light up this entire wall here, and that could be the Argentina office. And we could light up another wall in that location that would be the representation of us here in Redmond. And enabling the Skype translator service in this application would allow those rooms to communicate back and forth in their native language. Okay, so now we've got La Plata coming online. And as Fernando said, the goal of this was to be able to offer multiple rooms so that we can communicate and collaborate across those rooms. So you can decide however you want to use this application, but again, the goal is to just enable working environments using video services that are powered by the Skype for Business platform so that we can communicate using a scalable platform on the back end. And if you can think about adding translation services to this and then adding robotics to this, so instead of just looking at the window of the room, I can actually be a part of that room. That's a pretty compelling statement to make, and it really is a cost difference, a dramatic cost reduction in telepresence as it exists today, but it also makes telepresence a working telepresence type scenario. Instead of just setting up a room and having a meeting, these can be ongoing, for an entire day, across multiple days, to really set up virtual work environments using the service. So there's a couple different things here. We can set up chat between the rooms. We can enable changing of settings, so I can change the types of video devices, speakers, whatever I want to use as far as remote input devices. And then I can change rooms or use shortcut features that make using the app really easy. So we actually developed this. We started developing it, 2 weeks ago?
Yep.
So you're seeing this in raw form. So there's a lot more coming to this application. And we feel it's going to be a very transformative digital workplace solution in its final release. But I just wanted to give you guys a preview of what we're doing there. We talked about digital customer. We talked about digital workplace. Now, one thing that I found really hard to discuss is digital transformation, right? So it's a hard topic to discuss with your customer. But if you break it down, being able to enable processes, especially when you think about it from our terms, being able to really leverage solutions that we've been continuing to build upon in terms of code libraries, in terms of application fabrics and services that we build in a repeatable process. As you look at those and be able to leverage those and harness those to create new experiences, that in my mind is the definition of digital transformation. Because once you take that first step into becoming a digital business, and enabling solutions like remote advisory, enabling solutions like virtual corridor or digital lobby, right? You're now becoming a digital business. But each experience that you partake on or that you provide is going to provide you with some assets that you can reuse for new development, right? And so once an organization understands that and can continue to build upon that, that in my mind is the value of digital transformation for a digital business. And we're using that internally and experiencing that ourselves as a project team, because as we design and develop these new applications, we're learning things every day, right? How to create better experiences for IM, sharing photos, sharing videos, including other systems beyond Skype for Business, robots, OneDrive services, Office services, application integration with SAP and CRM, all these different experiences together. And those go back to our fabric and back into our libraries, and enables our service line to be able to reuse those and develop solutions for their customers. And so we're going to talk to Paul Kiley here in a second. He's one of our technology innovation advisors that will discuss that further. But hopefully, as you've seen here in the demonstrations and some of the content here, that using the Skype for Business platform, the Skype developer platform, and enabling these experiences through our digital communication solutions, we can truly empower capabilities across these three categories for digital business enablement. So do you guys agree with me? I wrote just a show of hands in terms of taking a look at all this stuff. You guys agree that we think we can take this to our customers to really benefit here from this conversation? Great, thank you. All right, so how we're engaging today is basically we're following the process of the I-Day process. So right now, our TIAs, our Technology Innovation Advisors, go out and have the initial conversations with our customers and show them these presentations, some of these demos, and really get their feet wet with what the capability is. And then we can move directly into an I-Day where we really focus content and more of a customized demo for that customer to get them to see the value of an application or a process inside their organization. And we've actually had a couple of organizations that are right now actually setting up I-Weeks or sometimes I-Fortnights, where we actually build an app in a week to 2 weeks. And this has really transformed our DevOps as an organization, our project team, because we're now developing and iterating at a very fast-paced scale. Versus in the past, when I used to work for Microsoft, at research, we would develop every 4 months, 6 months, and then show it to the customer, get feedback, and then come back. That's too long of a cycle. So we've transformed our DevOps to create apps within a week to 2 weeks, iterate, get feedback, and build a new app. And so that's what you experience in an iWeek with us. And then obviously the follow-on is an actual project. And so right now, worldwide, in the US, in Europe, and other continents, we're actually experiencing this right now. Our TIAs, our BDs are getting equipped with these demonstrations, they're getting equipped with the experiences, and they're moving these iDays and iWeeks forward, and we're actually selling projects right now. So this is not an incubation thing anymore, this is a reality, and we're here at TechSummit to tell you about it, to help you subscribe to this and take it even further. Okay, so I know I've got a few minutes here, and I just wanted to bring, Fernando, obviously he's here in person, but I'm also going to bring Paul Kiley here virtually through Skype to be able to talk a little bit how UC Apps in this program has really benefited those individuals in their individual responsibilities. So I'm going to go ahead and escape out of here, and I'll get Paul on.
Okay.
Okay, so here we go. Hey, Paul, can you hear us?
Hey, Joe.
All right, can you hear us okay?
Oops. Yep, just fine.
Give me 1 second, I'm going to duplicate my screen here.
Okay.
All right, so I couldn't get Paul here in person, but we're going to do a virtual panel powered by Skype for Business. So I'm going to start with Paul, and then Fernando will talk about what your experiences is. But Paul, can you just tell the audience here what's your experience been like with UC Apps as a technology innovation advisor?
Yeah, so we really started with Joe about a year ago and the team taking a look at a variety of opportunities. One that we focused on at Devon Energy in Oklahoma City was just around an innovation challenge that Devon had to come in and provide a collaboration innovation solution. And so we teamed up with Microsoft and Accenture and took a look at 5 different business cases, use cases, and really focused in on one, which was with their integrated reservoir characterization team, which essentially looks at well sites for drilling and all the different characteristics for those and makes decisions based upon data. So we met with that team, both on the business side and IT side, really focused on trying to come up with a solution that allowed the flexibility to do real-time conversations, both audio, video, and chat, but also be able to find the right experts. And so we collaborated with Joe's team, developed an application that allowed us to search for experts within the organization that had expertise around a discipline, around a region, or what the oil and gas industry calls a play, and then also around just a specific map of an oil area, and they could click on a well and look at a variety of experts that are associated with that, and then click to collaborate. So that's one, and then we've taken that now to several other clients and accounts, and one that we're actively involved in right now is Hess Energy, very similar organization, and they're looking at actually doing a click-to-call capability to find the expert on an oil platform that's their single point of contact. And then we're also doing radio handset integration there, but building an application that allows them to click on a map, click on a well, and take a look at the particular experts around that. We also brought in documents from SharePoint, so we exposed SharePoint documents that were pertinent to those wells as well.
Right. Thanks, Paul. So Paul's been an active advocate of our program, and he's one of several TIAs globally that are going out and having these conversations with customers, as he just discussed. So, Paul, thank you for joining in. I really appreciate your time. And if you want to wave to the crowd here at TechSummit.
Sure. Thanks, Joe.
I know you can't see him.
Thanks, TechSummit.
All righty. So, Fernando, I'd like you to talk a little bit about, let me get rid of Skype or I'm going to get completely bombarded here in a second.
Okay, just a couple of minutes. I want to talk about the experience as a delivery center. I work in Accenture for almost 10 years. In Avanade, working for Avanade 5 years. And 3 years ago, there was another project, some guy from US who wanted to build applications based on Link. Another project for us. After 3 years on that journey, we are really excited about the possibilities on how to build how to improve communications. We are always trying to think how to create new ways to communicate people and how to integrate devices and things. Believe me, in the Argentina Delivery Center, everybody wants to work with us because we are building new technologies, working right with Microsoft in the new APIs, helping them, working with devices, medical devices, robots, drones. We are thinking about everything. So everybody wants to work with us. And from the delivery center perspective, we want this to grow. So we are trying to figure out ways with Joe to grow as a team and try to teach people because it's not easy. We are always dealing with new technologies, new APIs, new challenges. So from the Argentina standpoint, and I believe we were talking with other delivery centers, we are trying to grow as a capability and build more people to work with this because we believe it's going to be a huge amount of work in these technologies. So basically, I think that's it from the Argentina standpoint.
Thanks, Fer. I appreciate it. And just so you guys know, our project team's like family. I mentioned before, when I saw Fer at the door here when I walked in, we've been working together for 3 years now. Just seeing him in person, I thought I was going to cry, but it's great. And what's fun about our team is that this is very energetic technology. When I talk to developers and train new developers on this capability, when they add audio and video to an app, when they add instant messaging and presence to an app, it's a lot of fun, right? So just building apps for the sake of apps is one thing, but being able to see real-time communications in an application, it's just a lot of fun to build. And the Skype developer platform, and I've been working with this for the past 15 years. Began with the project team developing, leveraging RTC technology back in the first Reuters project. We wanted stuff like this 10 years ago, and finally it's here, and our customers are able to now absorb it and leverage it inside their businesses and really grow development teams as well. So that's all we've got, guys. Hopefully by the end of this presentation, you guys understood that you have something new to offer, right? You can extend your digital conversation, show demos, show capabilities, and set up iDays, iWeeks, and really take this home. So
not at night.
As the slide says, go forth and conquer. And thank you for joining our presentation today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.